Welcome to From the South, teleSur's daily news show. We start off in Latin America. Colombian President Juan Manuel Santos will donate his Nobel Peace Prize winnings to the victims of the country's 52-year-old conflict. He made the announcement at a church in the town of Bojaya in western Colombia, which has seen its fair share of war-associated violence. Santos was awarded the Nobel Prize for his contribution to the peace deal with FARC rebels in Colombia. Cuban President Raúl Castro spent his weekend addressing the damage done by Hurricane Matthew. This video was filmed in the city of Baracoa, where he met with affected residents. Thanks to a rigorous evacuation scheme, Cuba managed to avoid the fate of neighboring Haiti, where approximately 1,000 deaths have been reported so far in the wake of the strongest storm to hit the Caribbean in nearly a decade. And as Haiti struggles to recover from the wake of the devastation left by Hurricane Matthew, the number of cholera cases is on the rise, an issue further complicated by the lack of clean drinking water. Residents in Chardonnier, Port-au-Piment, and Coteau in the southern Sud department say they are desperate for clean water, food, and shelter. In the village of Chevalier, incidents of diarrhea are reported in mass numbers as residents there are forced to drink the brackish water from the local well that they believe is already contaminated by dead livestock. The government has been moving to provide relief to the most affected. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro called on OPEC members to establish fair and realistic prices for oil at the World Energy Congress in Istanbul Monday. Maduro underlined that OPEC countries should reach an agreement that stressed the importance of stability within the market.
The Honduran government hasn't achieved anywhere near the economic growth of at least 5% annually that was promised by the International Monetary Fund when agreements were signed in 2014. For the Central American Institute for Fiscal Studies, Honduras' low growth and inequalities are the main reason for poverty in the country.
Honduras is a highly unequal country, and the benefits of the economic growth are concentrated in very few hands. This is not an acceptable economic growth for a country like Honduras. We are growing at rates of 3.6 or 3.7 with 2% growth, which is very low. In these conditions, the country isn't able to fix the problems of unemployment and poverty.
Honduras' external debt represents nearly half of the country's GDP. From 2014 to 2017, the country will pay $5 billion in the interest alone on that debt. Instead of looking for alternatives to increase its income, the Honduran government has sold its main companies to private business that are the only ones benefiting from these policies.
They have invented new plans for public-private alliances. These alliances, if they are socialized, if they are well analyzed, and if they allow the participation of all economic sectors, could bring benefits. But here in Honduras, these alliances have only brought problems. This economic growth doesn't produce new employment and only serves a few.
According to the ICEFI and other analysts, if Honduras continues to exempt private companies to pay taxes and sell the few companies it has, then it will be impossible to guarantee economic growth for anyone other than a small economic elite of 12 families that have controlled the economy since the 2009 coup d'etat against President Manuel Zelaya. Gerardo Torres, teleSur, Honduras.
In international news, riot police used water cannons and pepper spray to disperse families and activists gathered to mark the first anniversary of 2 suicide bombings. The bombings took place during a peace rally and killed more than 100 people and injured over 500 others. The governor of Ankara banned demonstrations and protests, citing an emergency rule. Thousands attended the funeral of Sana's mayor Abdul Qadir Hilal. Hilal was among 140 people killed in a deadly Saudi airstrike on Saturday. More than 500 people were injured. According to the United Nations, between 9,000 and 12,000 people have been killed since the Saudi-led campaign against the Houthi forces in Yemen began in 2015. German police have captured a man suspected of planning a bomb attack similar in scale to those in Brussels in March and in Paris last year. Police had been looking for the suspect Jabr al-Bakr, a Syrian refugee, since he avoided being captured during a raid on an apartment on Saturday. Greek journalists protested Monday ahead of the expected closure of several TV stations after the government auctioned off TV licenses to the highest-paying bidders. The move is expected to lead to the loss of up to 2,000 jobs. Private TV employees were also operating a 5-hour strike on Monday. In Portugal, thousands of taxi drivers took to the streets of central Lisbon to protest the government decision to legalize Uber and Cabify. The two main taxi associations have refused the government's proposal for the law. The groups say their members have to pay to get a cab license, while Uber drivers are exempt of this fee. South African police clashed with student protesters demanding free education at the University of Witwatersrand, which had reopened after demonstrations forced its closure last week. Demonstrators hurled rocks at private security guards, while police fired rubber bullets and tear gas to disperse the crowd at the Johannesburg campus.
An Israeli police officer and a 60-year-old Israeli woman were shot dead, and at least 5 people were seriously injured after a Palestinian man opened fire near an Israeli police station in occupied Jerusalem Sunday morning. Israeli sources identified the shooter, who was shot down by police, as 39-year-old Musabbah Abu Sbaih from Jerusalem's occupied neighborhood of Silwan. An Israeli police report said that the gunman opened fire from within his car on the Ammunition Hell Light Rail stop